Good evening, everyone, and welcome to tonight's public hearing. We're glad everybody's here, and look forward to hearing from everybody that wants to speak. First, before we get started, we need to take appearances from the parties, and feel free to go ahead and introduce folks that are with you right now while we're here.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. On behalf of Blue Granite, I'm Sam Wellborn. We also have from the company Mr. Don Denton, who's president of Blue Granite, and Mr. Bryce Mendenhall, who's vice president of operations, and we appreciate the opportunity to hear the public's feedback at this night hearing. I would also quickly mention that members of the public, if there are specific issues that need to be addressed by the company, I would encourage them to approach the staff from the company and have that worked out. Thank you.
Thank you. Welcome.
Good evening, Roger Hall, Assistant Consumer Advocate with the Department of Consumer Affairs. Bailey Parker is also here with our public information folks. We've intervened in the matter to represent the interests of the consumers, so here to hear what you have to say so we can better represent you. Thank you.
Thank you. Welcome.
Jeff Nelson with the Office of Regulatory Staff. We have several members here tonight. Michael Seaman Wynn is sitting up here in the front row. He's with our Rates Department. Our Chief Operating Officer, Dawn Hipp, is back here. And you might have noticed when you came in, Brad Kirby is at a table out there for the ORS. He's out in the lobby area. And if you need to speak to anybody, we'll be around after the hearing, or if you don't want to hang around until we're done, you can always walk out and talk to Brad. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Nelson. I want to introduce the commissioners that here tonight. To my far left, from District 1, Commissioner Butch Howard. Next to him, from District 7, Commissioner O'Neill Hamilton. To my far right, from District 2, Commissioner Florence Belser. Next to her is Commissioner Tom Irvin from District 4. Commissioner Justin Williams is serving our country in Iraq right now, so he's not here. And Commissioner Whitfield is stuck at the red light right down here at Bush River Road, and he should be walking in any second now. So just act like he wasn't there. So, Mr. Nelson, I'm going to turn it over to you to.
It's my job to give you a little brief on the procedures and how everything works here tonight. As I told you, I'm Jeff Nelson. I'm Chief Counsel with the Office of Regulatory Staff. The PSC, the Public Service Commission, is hosting the night hearing tonight. The Office of Regulatory Staff is a separate state agency from the PSC and represents the consumers and the state interest in this matter, along with the state consumer advocate who's introduced himself as well. The hearing we're holding it here tonight for you to allow you to share your thoughts about Blue Granite Water Company's rate increase. The Commission scheduled this hearing because they know that it's important to hear from you, from the members of the public and the customers of the company. So what you have to say is important. If you come up to speak, when you come up to speak tonight, please make sure that you verbalize what you're saying, and also in response to any questions that either myself or one of the other attorneys or the commissioners may ask you. Ms. Wheat is our court reporter here tonight. Ms. Wheat can't take down head nods and yums and that kind of thing, and yes, no, or whatever, so that she can take it down for the record. Everything you say tonight as a member of the public, if you're speaking here, goes into the record of this case and will be considered by the Commission in rendering their final opinion in this case. So what you say is important, and thank you for coming out tonight. The Commission will issue a final order in this case by April 2nd. The merits hearing, as we call it, the presentation of evidence by all the parties, is ongoing right now, as you may know. They'll probably be finished up tomorrow. I think they're probably all hoping, but we don't know for certain. You've already been through 2 days of hearings. They start again tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock, I believe. I've already introduced the ORS folks that are here tonight, and as I said, myself and Ms. Hipp and Mr. Seaman Wynn will all hang around as long as we need to tonight to talk to everybody that wants to talk to us, and Mr. Kirby is out there from our Consumer Services Department if you want to talk to them. One thing I do want to make sure that you understand is that the commissioners sit as this is a quasi-judicial body, meaning they sit as judges and are responsible for complying with the rules of judicial conduct. You can't ask a question just like you couldn't if you're a witness in a criminal case. You can't ask a question of the judge. You can't ask questions of the commissioners here tonight. So We want to hear your statements. We want to hear what you have to say. Myself or the commissioners may ask you a follow-up question to get a little more information out of you, but it kind of is a one-way street that you can't ask the commissioners for how they feel about something or how they're going to rule on something. I think that's it. Mr. Chairman, I would ask that the sign-in sheets be marked and entered in the record as the next hearing exhibit. Thank y'all.
Okay, the sign-in sheet will be entered into the record as hearing exhibit number 24. Okay, I'm going to ask our attorney, Mr. Randall Dong. He's going to go through some more instructions. Some of them may be similar, but they're all important. So we want to just make sure everybody understands.
Good evening. My name is Randall Dong, as the chairman said, and I advise the commission. I just have a few things. First of all, I'd like to remind y'all that that only people who've signed up to speak will be permitted to speak tonight. And if you've spoken before at one of the previous night hearings, because this is the third night hearing that we've had here in the Midlands, we had one in Irmo before, and we had one in Lexington. If you've spoken previously, we would ask that you not speak again tonight. We're trying to make sure that everybody has an opportunity, but everybody should only have one opportunity to speak. After your name is, Mr. Bachman is going to call the names, and after you're called up, you'll be sworn in, and after you're sworn in, you'll give your testimony. And when you do, please tell us your name and where you live or the subdivision. You don't have to provide your house number, but we'd like to know, and I'm sure that the company would like to know what area of the territory that you live in. Please be sure to speak into the mic. This is all being transcribed, and if you don't speak into the mic and speak loudly, it's going to be difficult for the court reporter to make a verbatim transcript. We would ask that you limit your comments to no more than 3 minutes. There is a timer, and we'd ask that you observe that. Please silence your cell phones or other electronics. We want to try to keep the record clean, and we want to try not to have people get interrupted by phones that are ringing. And not to repeat what Mr. Nelson has said, but I want to emphasize that that the commissioners up here, as much as they like people and they would like to talk to you, they really can't. They can't talk to you about this case because they sit as essentially as judges on the case, and so the Code of Judicial Conduct does not allow them to interact with you about the merits of the case, how they feel about the case, those kinds of things. They may ask you questions. If they ask you questions, please give them whatever answers to whatever questions they ask. If they don't ask you questions, please don't be offended or don't take it personally. Sometimes they need more information. Sometimes you've given them all that they need. So with that, I think that pretty well covers it.
Thank you, Mr. Dong. I want to make sure we'll use this podium. We're set up for the merits hearing, but this podium right in the middle will be where everyone should speak from. And if you'll just make sure you hang in there once you've done your testimony, so if there are any questions. And I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Rob Bachman, who will be calling the names of folks that are going to speak. Mr. Bachman, take it away.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'll be calling your names in sets of 3. When you hear your name, the first name will be approaching the podium, please. And then the other 2 names, there are seats up in this front row if you just want to have a seat there. After the first person has finished their testimony, they'll remain at the podium momentarily to see if any of the parties or the commissioners have any questions, at which point they will take their seat. I will call your name, and you will step up to the podium to be sworn in by Mr. Richardson. Again, you do have 3 minutes, and aside from that, I believe we are ready to commence. We'll commence with Linda Fillmore's testimony, followed by John P. Corrigan and Kim Corrigan.
Linda Fillmore.
So you,
Can you hear me?
yes, ma'am. Just get close and speak up.
Okay.
There you go.
My name is Linda Fillmore, and I live at Spence's Point in Lexington. We have 10 buildings which house a total of 99 condos. Since our average square footage is 1,200 to 1,400 square feet per unit, we average 1 to 2 persons per unit. This is important because we have some issues. One issue is Blue Granite bills our council of co-owners for 1 water meter per building, yet they're allowed to charge a separate base facilities charge per condo, which amounts to 99 separate charges. Single-family homes have 1 meter and 1 base facilities charge, no matter how many people live in that building. It's unfair to charge us for each condo since it costs them the same to maintain the water infrastructure, whether there is 1 unit or 9 units per building. We ask that the commissioners address this unfair billing practice so that we are only charged the fees per meter rather than per condo. Second item is Blue Granite currently bills us a residential commodity charge of $7.55 per 1,000 gallons. They're proposing to lower this from $7.55 to $4.75, which is great, except now, as we understand it, they're going to add an additional new charge called a purchased water charge of $6.85 per 1,000 gallons, which means that we will now be billed $11.60 per 1,000 gallons, which is a 56 increase in our rate. We estimate that the average sewage rate for each of our residents will rise from $65 to $101, or $65 to $101. The majority of our residents are retired and on fixed incomes, so you can imagine the impact this massive increase will have on our residents. We request that this additional new charge or any increase to any rate not be approved. The third item is the current pumping charge for the solids interceptor tanks, like the ones at Spence's Point, is being revised from a set $150 charge to an unspecified pass-through charge, where there is no opportunity for any oversight by Spence's Point. If this is allowed, we ask that Blue Granite be required to include a copy of the original invoice when the tank is pumped, and to be assured that there is some type of recourse for Spence's Point if we feel the amount charged is unreasonable. And my last item is Blue Granite has been pumping these tanks at all hours of the day and night, especially seemingly mostly at night. This is, of course, very disruptive to our residents. We'd ask Blue Granite to try and be sure, if at all possible, to do this pumping during normal business hours. Last item, long-term, we would like to see the Watergate sewage station closed and have Spence's Point connect with the Lexington Regional Treatment Plant as was mandated 20 years ago.
Thank you, ma'am. Any questions from the parties?
Do you need my testimony? Oh, yeah.
Get to a microphone. Yeah, y'all.
Could you clarify how many units there are and how many meters you think there are?
We have 99 units, which is in 10 buildings, and we have 1 meter per building, so 10 buildings.
Okay. Anybody, commissioners, any questions? Commissioner Belzer.
Thank you for being here, Ms. Fillmore. I'm down here. Each condo is billed a base charge, is that correct?
We are charged a base charge for each condo in each building. So my analogy of a single-family home has 1 meter and 1 charge. We have 10 buildings, but we have 99 charges, 1 for each unit.
Who does the bill go to? Does it go to the individual owners?
No, it goes to our HOA.
So the HOA pays the bill, and then the...
Right, and sewer and water is the #1 top highest budget amount on our whole HOA annual budget.
Okay. And you mentioned the pumping charge for the solids interceptor tank. Do you know how many of those tanks are out there?
I do not know that.
That's okay. That's okay. And what the pumping of the tanks? Those are the solid interceptor tanks, or is there a wastewater facility out there that they're having to pump out? Do you know? Is it like a lagoon type situation, or is it?
We have it's the Watergate facility. It's kind of like right on our property. It has huge tanks.
Okay, so it's an actual wastewater treatment plant.
It's a wastewater treatment.
And is that what they're pumping out at all hours of the day and night, as per your testimony?
Well, I think they're pumping that, and the thing is, it looks to me like it's on our property. I know it's their property, but to drive into our property, we pass by Watergate, and then our property is all along the front of Watergate. So Watergate really is, we kind of embrace the Watergate facility.
Okay. Thank you for being here, and thank you for your testimony.
Thank you for listening.
Thank you, ma'am.
Next, we have John Corrigan, followed by Kim Corrigan and Teresa Heilman. John Corrigan, Kim Corrigan, and Teresa Heilman.
I do. Hi, I'm John Corrigan. I reside at Spence's Point, adjacent to the Watergate facility as well. And I'm also a member of the newly formed Spence's Point Blue Granite Subcommittee of Spence's Point Homeowners Association. Thank you for this opportunity to have redress on this rate increase proposal. The title of my address this evening is Stuck in the Middle with You. Having served as an executive in a multinational service company, I truly understand the profit motives of private and for-profit businesses, especially those that rely on third-party subcontractors to provide service delivery. My company does that. I'm also in a unique position to understand the protractedness inherent in government organizations in taking the necessary actions to resolve long-standing issues through my direct service in a public service agency. Through this experience, I've come to understand the fungible use of grant monies, tax levies, et al., that were originally intended for one use, but somehow were redirected for a higher priority. And this is where we, Spence's Point Homeowners Association, find ourselves today, stuck in the middle of the profit motives of Blue Granite, a government that has prioritized other issues over the sewer connection commitment it made 20 years ago, and a public utility commission that by simply granting continual rate increases perpetuates this 20-year stalemate. What's lost in all of this is we, the consumer. We, the consumer, with little to no investment in the plant, equipment, or better and more efficient service delivery, just higher prices for the same aging plant and equipment, but the higher cost of subcontractors who they themselves over time want year-on-year revenue increases, just like Blue Granite or the government agencies. To say nothing of the continual episodes of Saluda River contamination from the aging plant and equipment, which happened 2 weeks ago. I applaud Blue Granite's lawsuit to change the status quo and compel the town of Lexington to make the sewer connection that is long overdue and shutter the Watergate treatment plant. Seemingly, no longer to have to maintain an aging, failing plant and not having to rely on subcontractors should improve their margins. From a government perspective, additional customers and revenue from we the consumer. And what of we the consumer? While the closing of the Watergate plant, with the closing of the Watergate plant, we should come to enjoy better, more efficient service delivery, a stabilized or lower rate with less impact on the environment. A win-win for all of us. So in closing, we the consumer no longer wish to be stuck in the middle, ergo, the formation of our subcommittee, and we're also seeking counsel on how best to go about facilitating the shuttering of the plant. In closing, please, in your final deliberations, do the common sense thing and vote not to perpetuate the status quo. Let's shutter the plant and make the connection that's 20 years overdue. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Corrigan. Questions from the parties? Mr. Nelson.
Yes, sir, Mr. Corrigan, Jeff Nelson over here. You mentioned something about something 2 weeks ago, a contamination.
Yes, our next resident is going to address that.
Talked about that? Okay, all right, thank you, sir.
Commissioners. Commissioner Belzer. Oh, sorry. Thought your light was on. Commissioner Howard.
Corrigan, thank you for coming. Tell me about your subcommittee. Is that just a tongue-in-cheek thing, or do you actually meet with Blue Granite?
You want to know about the subcommittee?
Yes.
Yep, so it's a group of Spence's Point residents who have also reached out to Mallard Shores and Land's End, who are also communities that are served by the Wastegate Treatment Program. And essentially, it's an action committee to see what we can do. And again, we're seeking legal counsel advice to shutter the plant and compel the town of Lexington to make the sewer connection that, again, they committed to do 20 years ago. So we are committed to resolving this issue and not just, as we say with our federal government, kicking the can down the road.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Commissioners. Any other questions? Thank you, Mr. Corrigan. Appreciate you being here.
Next, we have Kim Corrigan, followed by Teresa Heilman and John Mallard. Teresa Heilman and John Mallard to the front, please.
Yes. My name is Kim Corrigan, and I live in Spence's Point in Lexington County, or the town of Lexington. My background is in the healthcare industry for over 25 years. Blue Granite is applying for a 50% average rate increase only 2 years after a 30% rate increase, which is unreasonable for their consumers. Add to that their statement to Representative Chris Wooten that they intend to pursue additional rate cases every 2 years following this one. An example of the service we've received recently. On February 17th of this year, a pump alarm went off at 5:04 a.m. A technician was sent from the company and they shut down pump number 2 and left. Pump number 2 failed due to a piece of metal that caused the check valve to come apart. As a result of that, that allowed sewage that had been pumped out to come back into the pump, causing overflows. Unfortunately, despite multiple calls of sewage running across our property and into Lake Murray, additional technicians did not arrive until 11:10 a.m. It was estimated that between 400 and 600 gallons of sewage per hour went into Lake Murray from our 3 areas of overflow. I've included pictures of everything referenced and request that it be included as exhibits in this case. Blue Granite fixed the pump, sprinkled garden lime on the sewage-covered grass, and washed our pool deck with HTH before leaving. No remedy was done for the sewage-soaked wood planters lining the cabana pathways. Signs saying "keep kids and pets away" were posted for 4 days. Our residents, their children and grandchildren, swim in the pool, have lunch at the cabana, and play ball on our grassy lawn when the weather gets warmer. Would you want to bring your family over knowing that this has happened? We request that the town of Lexington fulfill their agreement made 20 years ago to connect their sewer lines to our sewer lines and close the Watergate treatment plant. Thank you for your time and attention. And I have pictures of the event and all the 3 areas that overflowed.
Okay, Ms. Corrigan, let's take questions first, and then we'll get that.
Okay.
Ms. Corrigan, did you personally take these photos?
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, prior to them being admitted as a hearing exhibit, I would like for us to reserve the opportunity to review the materials.
We'll take them, we'll mark them, and then we'll rule on whether they're admissible at a later time. So we'll take them and mark them. Okay, any questions of Ms. Corrigan?
Yes. Sam, did you?
I'm sorry, just one other quick thing. What's the current status of your property? Have the issues been addressed? Those kinds of things.
The issues were addressed by Blue Granite in terms of pressure washing the pool deck and putting lime on the sewage-covered areas of the grass.
So in your view, there's no further action necessary from the company at this time?
Actually, all the wooden planters that line the whole pool deck area sat in that sewage water for the entire amount of hours that this was overflowing. So all that wood at the bottom, spraying some HTH and power washing the deck isn't going to stop or clean up that wood that has soaked up all that sewage water for that amount of time.
I'll only ask because if there's anything outstanding like that, I would encourage you to take it to the company and see what they can do to help. Thank you.
Ms. Corrigan, And with the subcommittee and with your talking about this, what other issues, or does the homeowner association have any other issues with the Watergate plant? Have you had any other problems in the past, or what?
I can't speak to that directly because I've only lived there for 6 months myself. I can only speak to what's happened most recently.
Yes, sir.
Do you know if the swimming pool was directly impacted by the overflow?
It does not appear that the swimming pool was affected. From the pictures that were taken, it looked like it ran to the side of the swimming pool and formed a pond of its own in the grass just beyond the pool. But it did all dump into Lake Murray from the three sites. Anything else?
Okay, commissioners, questions? Commissioner Irvin?
Mr. Chairman, thank you. Did anyone report the sewage release into Lake Murray to the Department of Health and Environmental Control?
Yes, I actually made that phone call myself, and I did send them the videos and the pictures.
Did they take any action to your knowledge?
They returned several communications to me asking if all the videos had been supplied, and I'm not sure if they took any action or not, but it was reported, yes.
The date of this occurrence was what, if you recall?
The date of the occurrence was February 17th.
Of
2020.
this year?
Yes.
We appreciate you calling it to our attention. Thank you for coming. You need to mark those photographs with our court reporter before
We're gonna do that right here. Give them Mr. Richardson. We'll mark those and they'll be entered as exhibit number 25. Not entered, but they'll be marked as exhibit number 25, and then we'll rule on them.
Teresa Heilman, followed by John Mallard.
Yes, I do. I am Teresa Heilman. I live in New Friars Gate in Irmo, South Carolina. My husband and I have resided there for 27 years. When we first moved there from Old Friars Gate, and then for a couple of years we lived off of Nursery Road, we had the city of Columbia for our water and sewer. We had no idea that individual companies such as Blue Granite existed, and then we got our first bill for $25 for sewer and found out about that. We just have to pay it. Well, I want to mention, and I'm sure this is just common sense, I can reduce my electric bills. I can add insulation. I can get energy efficient appliances. I can hang my clothes up to dry. I do all of these things to reduce my bills. My last electric bill was $127 for the month. Water bills. Control that. That's, for us, we are with the city of Columbia. Don't run the sprinkler. Get energy, efficient, water efficient toilets and shower heads and appliances. We've done all of that. We have pretty low water bills. Insurance. I can find cheaper policies. I have control over these things. I have absolutely no control over what Blue Granite charges me. And I don't know anybody in this room that would want to be without their sewer. Okay? If my water got cut off, I could go buy water. But I don't think that I can have an outhouse in my neighborhood. So I have no control over this whatsoever. We've seen the rates go up in the last 7-8 years, about 20% each time. My neighbors that I've talked to feel helpless and hopeless. They don't really see a point to coming. But I still come because I'm an American and I believe that I do have rights. I hope that I won't be disappointed in having that belief in the American dream. My husband and I are retiring. I don't consider myself retired because I'm a registered nurse. I don't work for pay. I work for free, and I help people, and that's a higher gain to me. So the sale of our home is going to be really important, and I see this next increase to over $101 affecting the price of our property. And we won't have a choice. In the next 5 years, we won't be able to go back to work and earn more money as it used to be for us.
Thank you,
That's about
ma'am.
all I have to say.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. Any questions? Commissioners? Commissioner Urban.
Thank you for coming tonight. We appreciate your willingness to testify. Have you had any discussions with other neighbors, residents in your area about your concern about home valuation?
Yes.
And is that a common theme that people are concerned about, that how it might affect their property values?
Yes, they're starting to realize this is going to affect your property values. This is going to affect the property of your house. My husband and I are hoping to build a patio home in preparation for as we get older and have it be able to be handicap accessible. When I look at property, I ask what utilities will service this property before I even consider buying it now. My eyes have been opened, not only by the sewer company, but by the electric companies as well. And I just wonder, do other states have this problem as well, where people are afraid to buy property in a place because of a utility company? What laws are we being governed by that these problems are allowed to happen?
We appreciate you coming tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions, commissioners? Thank you, ma'am.
John Mallard. John Mallard, please take the podium.
John Mallard. I live in the Laurel Meadows subdivision in West Columbia. And thank you. I'm John Mallard. I live in the Laurel Meadows subdivision in West Columbia. And thank you to the Public Service Commission for giving me the privilege of being allowed to speak tonight. As I go to describe my interactions with Blue Granite, it used to be Carolina Water last spring or summer, you'll understand why my opinions are as they are. So but I'll get around to all the points. My request is for the Public Service Commission. First of all, I do not want the water increase, but we've had water increases up and down. It's been very erratic in my neighborhood, especially last summer. But I'll explain some of the things. First, my request is for the Public Service Commission to remove Blue Granite from being the company that provides water where I live. I'd prefer to be on the town of Lexington or West Columbia if that was proper. I'm going to skip around here. My wife and I are very fortunate. My wife's here tonight. We are on the town of Lexington sewage. I thank God for that. I believe Blue Granite, if I'm not mistaken, was polluting the Saluda River with sewage. They lost the privilege, and I'm so glad they do not have our sewage now. I would like Blue Granite not to have our water, but I'm going to go a little further. Last summer, we were having very erratic water rates. They go up, go down, go whatever. I wondered if there was incompetency in the meter reading as it progressed. They put a new meter reader there. He told me they let go the person that was doing that. I did call the proper state agency to complain and give them my water bill, so I have been through that. So the meter was erratic. This may not be scientific, but our water was $60 bill, so we don't have sewage with them, was $64 last month. We got an $88 bill just the other day. I know there's science behind it. You can look and see what's going on. We had at least 3 different meters. We had an old one. I think sometimes I wonder if people would charge less because they had an older meter. We had another one and another were placed. Now, another reason why I come to the opinion that I do not want Blue Granite from my water company, I very respectfully called their 800 or 888 number, had very civil conversations. You don't call Blue Granite locally. You get a national number. The people were very nice. I was very nice. I did this at least 4 times, possibly 5 times. No time, not at any time has anybody from Blue Granite ever called me. I would call the national number, they'd say, well, we can't talk to you. We'll get the local manager to call you. They never called me. They're either arrogant or incompetent, and probably both. That is where I come to my understanding about Blue Granite. So, again, I do not think they serve the public well. I think they're interested in the stockholders and profits and not in the common good. Lexington County, if I have a concern with the sewage, I can call somebody on the phone. I can walk into the office and talk to somebody. If you respectful public commissioners, if you call Blue Granite, I bet you get a phone call back from them. They never called me. Okay. So I believe we're not being served, and it's up to the Public Service Commission to decide if we're being served, and I think this public is being served very poorly with high expensive water. Please remove them. I'd like to be on a water system that's more or less for the people, of the people, by the people, and for the people, and not for a for-profit company. And thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Mallard. Questions? Mr. Nelson.
Mr. Mallard, over here. You said you called 4 times or so.
Yes, sir, at least 4. I would swear on that.
Make sure you get in front of that microphone.
I quit calling. I called in the summer, and nobody ever called me back. And that's sort of what helps me develop my opinions and why I came to talk to the Public Service Commission. I couldn't talk to Blue Granite.
What specifically, sir, were you calling about, the meter readings or something else?
Calling about the meter readings, and then nobody called me because we had now I was honest with everybody. Back in the spring, I had a leak at the wall where my faucet was, and I figured that I had that repaired by a competent plumber, and so that was taken care of, but the meter readings continued to be erratic. Other neighbors had the same problems, and then they said, well, and I wondered if it was an incompetent meter reader. It possibly was at that point because another guy they put over there just to kind of cover from what was going on because I think they knew they were having problems, told me that's what had happened. And then I called to talk to them about it, and nobody would ever talk to me. Nobody. I went through their system. I called the national number, and they said, we'll get somebody to call you. They never did, and that's one reason I'm here because I couldn't talk to them. And obviously, I made my complaint to the proper state agency because they said you can't, and I understand that and respect that. You can't call the Public Service Commission. And I gave that guy the meter readings, and he looked at, so I'm on record as far as the information he got there, and they never called me back. So with that in mind, and the fact that, and I'm so thankful I don't have their sewage anymore because I don't like our rivers being polluted. Just from what I've seen with interaction with them, I don't want them to have our water either where I live. I wish that could be true for a lot of people, and I wish a lot of these people here tonight didn't have to have Blue Granite for their sewage. I'm thankful Lexington County has ours. I don't know if I answered your question or not.
You did, Mr. Mallard. Thank you. Do you know if you called our office or was it some other office of the state that you called?
That's on me. I probably have those notes somewhere. Okay. It was I think I called to speak to the Public Service Commission, and they said, well, you don't actually talk to them. Maybe you understand it better than I do. There was a really nice gentleman who got my information on my bills and looked into it, and then he called me back, and I spoke with him again, and he said, you can talk to the Public Service Commission. And I said, well, I'll do that, and that's why I'm here.
And as Mr. Wellborn's pointed out, I know some of the folks from the company are here today too, so I think you probably could take the opportunity tonight to try and talk to them, and if that doesn't work, we come up and talk to us.
I understand, I appreciate that, but why should it be 6 months or more later before anybody's interested in listening to me? I think they'll listen to somebody like the Public Service Commission, but they never called me.
Yes, sir.
There's something missing there.
Thank you very much for testifying.
Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioners.
Mr. Chairman, sir, could I ask you a question, please, up here?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Did you ever get any kind of bill adjustment as a result of the erratic meter readings?
Yes, sir, I did get a bill adjustment, but no explanation about it. And nobody calls and tells you
your
that.
complaint primarily is the failure to respond to your complaints.
Failure to respond, but also the erratic bills that went up and down, and neighbors had it, and then apparently they had a meter reader that wasn't doing a very good job. And then I tied that in with the fact that I don't have their sewage anymore. I'm thankful for that because they were very incompetent with sewage in the Saluda River. And just after, based on my interactions with having the meter reader and nobody calling me, I'm led to the conclusion, if I could not have them running the water and my taxes could pay for it through the West Columbia election, I would love that.
Thank you, sir.
Not be for-profit corporations worried about the money they're making. Thank you.
Any other questions, commissioners? Commissioner Whitfield.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Mallard, just to follow up on Commissioner Irvin's question, when you said you got this reduction, I'm very clear that nobody from the company called you back, but it's highly possible that you talked to the Office of Regulatory Staff, Mr. Nelson's agency, because commissioners can't talk to the company either. So the person that called you back from ORS, did they get this reduction for you? Who got the reduction or correction?
That's a good question, sir. I'm not really sure where that came in. I can't talk to Blue Granite about it. It seems like the gentleman just kind of took the information, was sympathetic to what I was saying, and called me back. We kind of both agreed there was something going on as far as why these bills were erratic like this.
Yes, sir.
I don't know if I answered your question.
Well, we can't talk to the company, but you certainly have the opportunity to talk to the company tonight after the hearing, and Mr. Nelson's agency's offered to, they're the ones that handle consumer complaints, so I would strongly suggest that you take advantage of this opportunity after the hearing tonight to get the rest of your concerns addressed.
Yes, sir. I hope they would find out what goes on when people call their national company and they're very nice people and nobody calls you locally. I mean, we all got to ask why. I've been the customer there for years with them.
Well, thank you for your testimony.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
for your time.
Any other questions, commissioners? Okay, Mr. Mallard, thank you very much for being here.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
With the conclusion of Mr. Mallard's testimony, that is the final testifier that we have on our list this evening.
Thank you. We're very appreciative of everybody that's come out to speak. You're certainly invited to come back at 10 o'clock in the morning for the continuation of the merits hearing. And with that, we are adjourned.